Alright, everyone knew it was coming. This is... I'm not even gonna make a joke about this. This is Springtraps' best add-on. I know some people will maybe argue this, but if you asked 95% of people who've played Springtrap, or anyone who even has the slightest indication of Springtrap's add-ons, Bonnie's Guitar Strings is widely considered Springtrap's best add-on.
I don't make mistakes. I'm not just like the rest of you. I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better.
Now, what does it do before we keep going for those that aren't aware? Bonnie's Guitar Strings makes it so that when you are inside of a security door, you can see the intensity of the generators as they turn from white to red based on how much progress they have. It also has the downside of making it so that your undetectability when coming out of a door is subtracted by 100%. I will get more into that subtraction later because it is kind of important to mention. So, why is this so good? One, it can act like a mini lethal pursuer at the beginning of the match. You can go into a door, wait till you see a generator go slightly pink, and then teleport to that door. Don't need to bring lethal pursuer, you know exactly where the survivors are and where to start pressuring. It can be kind of hard to see it in this clip, but the generator I'm currently looking at is not fully white, it is slightly pink, which means that it is being worked on, even if it's a small amount. But you can use this at the beginning of a match again to get this early pressure like I did on this hit I got on the David. Really? We're gonna pre-drop this one? 2, during the middle of a match after you hook somebody, go into a door, now you know exactly where to go without the need for a perk for it, which can then be used with perks like Pop Goes the Weasel or just in general to get pressure because you know where the survivors generally are. And 3, just in general, it's good information. If you can't find a single survivor, let's say it's not even after a hook, and you have no idea where to go, hop into a security door, see which gen is red, go to red. Now, it has been nerfed from the PTB to live, and it was then nerfed again in another patch. So the way it currently works now, it has the downside effect of 100% loss of your undetectability. Something that should be noted with this is that unlike most things that do this, the fact that it says minus 100% does not mean you can't go undetectable from coming out of the door. If you run security badge, this will still give you 5 seconds of undetectable. Is it worth it? In my opinion, not really, but it is something you can do. So if you still want the undetectable from when you come out of a door, maybe you're going to the door next to the gen, and still want that undetectable to catch up a little bit, you can totally 100% do that. Now, the other thing with this is that Bonnie's Guitar Strings did get nerfed, and I'm not going to sit here and say that the nerf wasn't a nerf and it was actually a buff, but it did give it some benefits. There are many Terror Radius builds that you cannot run on Springtrap unless you run Bonnie's Guitar Strings, because of the fact that when you come out of the door, you have the 20 seconds of undetectable. So you can use this to circumvent that. That includes perks like Phantom Fear, it includes Infectious Fright, anything that involves your Terror Radius, you can now use because of Bonnie's Guitar Strings. So it allows for the thing I've said so many times about Springtrap's add-ons, build diversity, because each perk allows you to slot it in as kind of like a staple on how the builds work. Other combos you can do with this is something like Iridescent Coin to make up for the lack of undetectability, but you can also just in general run it with something like Streamers so you get to the door for 0.4 seconds faster, which can matter. It also means that survivors can't just do the gens at any point in the map without you knowing. They can't really sneak a 3-gen, and that's the other thing with Bonnie's is it makes 3-gen situations, no matter the size of the map, virtually impossible, because he just knows which gen you're on at all times. Even if you manage to not have a 3-gen that was right next to each other, with Bonnie's, you can basically circumvent that entire scenario. So, are there any downsides to running Bonnie's? Is there anything bad with it? Yes and no. The worst case scenario for Bonnie's Guitar Strings is you bring it into a match and things are going so fast. You find one survivor at the beginning of the match that you didn't have to go through a door to find, and then once you hook them, you were able to see another survivor maybe nearby and start hooking them, and then you find another one or go back to the hook after they unhooked. But you were able to do all of these things without ever going into your doors, so Bonnie's didn't do anything for you. That is the worst case scenario for this perk. It doesn't get use because the game is going so fast that you can't even use it for the info it provides. That is worst case scenario, and honestly not that bad of a deal. That is honestly why I keep saying this add-on is really powerful to the point where it overshadows all of his others. There are many people who don't think Access Panel is worth it because Bonnie's does its job, but better.
He does exactly what I do, but better.
Now, Access Panel doesn't have the downside of Bonnie's, but the downside of Bonnie's isn't that big of a deal. Springtrap's undetectability is nice to catch up on survivors, however, because of how loud he can be, doesn't really matter all too much.
I'm right behind you, aren't I?
Again, it can be useful. I'm not saying it's not, but there are times when it really does not do the job it needs to do. So that leads us into, does it need to change or anything like that? And honestly, I don't think so. I think the downside they gave it is perfectly fine. It's not the downside I wanted when he first came out. I wanted it to make you go through doors slower because you know where you're going, so I feel the downside of being slowed down from getting there is perfectly fine. But the 100% undetectability is also okay. And the fact that it can still work with badge if you do want the undetectability is really nice in my opinion. But in general, if you really want to know what is the best thing to run on Springtrap, Bonnie's guitar strings, any other add-on, and then, you know, the full meta slowdown builds, and you'll be perfectly fine in doing what you need to do. That's really what it comes down to. Bonnie's is just that good that it overshadows all of his other perks for better.
I think I see the problem.
That's it. This
Add-on
blows.
and worse. I don't think it needs to be changed. I think some other add-ons need to be adjusted, but that's really about it. And this is just one I was really kind of dreading talking about because of how blatantly good it is and how little there is to really say about it. It's simple, it's effective, and it's just really good. Let me know what you guys think of Bonnie's guitar strings in the comments below. I know there are some detractors and some people who don't like this add-on and think it isn't that worth it, but let me know why. I know some people have when I asked this question in one of my posts, but I genuinely want to know why. But in any case, I love y'all. Have a good one, and yeah, bye.
Subscribe, damn it. I'll be back. I always come back, and so should you, you moron.